This is not psychotherapy. Dr. Wills does not have a provider-patient relationship with this guest. These are just two people talking about emotions.
Welcome to Give a Actually with your host, Dr. Alex Wills.
This is Dr. Alex Wills with Give a Fuck Actually. Today I have Tawa Giwa with us. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome. I'm excited.
Awesome. So a little bit about Tawa. Pull up her bio. So she grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. She was raised by a single parent and she's the last of three siblings. In 2019, she decided to study abroad. And she's in her third year majoring in mechanical engineering at Boise State University. That's great. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your background, a little bit about your story?
Sure. My name is Tawa, as you introduced me, and I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm also from the Yoruba tribe, and that's like my parents' tribe. I grew up in Nigeria all of my life, and I came here for college. So it's been a culture shock and a learning experience, and it's been amazing.
You have a pretty interesting story about your involvement with robots and your past engineering stuff. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So in high school, I was just the student that wanted more aside education. Like I just wanted to do more. And so I joined the robotics club. And ever since then, we've been practicing every Saturdays. And then we had a competition and we signed up for it. And we actually represented my country, which is Nigeria, in 2017 in Washington, D.C. And it was amazing. There were 167 countries represented. And I had the best time of my life. And as I was walking on the George Washington campus, because that was where we were, I told a friend that I would love to come back here to study. And here I am 3 years later at Boise State.
So Tawa, you had a chance to read a little bit of my new book, Give a Fuck Actually. Any thoughts, anything helpful in it so far? I know you're not all the way done with it yet.
All thanks to school, guys. I did read the book and I like the part where you're supposed to accept your emotions and work on it. And so one thing I tend to do is journal when I'm feeling sad and listen to sad music, obviously. So I journal and write about how I feel, even though I can't really understand the emotions. I just try to like understand my feeling at that point in time.
So this podcast is a bit of an experiment in trying to follow emotions and see what we can learn about, even like the uncomfortable, painful ones. Have you thought of any current or recent or past situations that you wanted to maybe delve into?
Definitely. So I left my country when I was 18, and I'm a bit of a mama's girl. Like I always go out with my mom. She's basically my best friend. So when I was leaving, a lot of people told me that you're not going to make it. You're going to want to come back home because you're always with your mom. So 3 years, I haven't seen my mom. And it's like, it's a lot for a young adult. Like you kind of need your parent around to talk about. So that's a lot I've been dealing with, like just missing my mom a lot.
Okay. So the first step, of course, is to drop the F shield. And then underneath those defense mechanisms or the shield emotions, there's those more, vulnerable emotions. What kind of defense mechanisms or shield emotions do you notice that maybe protect you or help you avoid feeling sad or vulnerable when you think about missing your mom?
Okay. I don't call my mom often, and that's something she like complains about. So we use WhatsApp and I can like do a video call with her, but I just don't usually call her. I call her maybe like once in a week just because I don't want to miss her that much. Another thing I feel like my brain helped me is to like forget my mom. So, I mean, I know her face. I know what she looks like, but I can't really like relate to like all the experiences we had. I just like that's how my brain is coping with it. And so it's strange, but yeah.
It's interesting with the shield emotions, anything that kind of helps us avoid not feeling those painful sort of sad emotions It could be anger, or it could be almost kind of like a numbness, or just sort of feeling meh. Like kind of, some people describe feeling sort of like a zombie, or just like a lack of emotions when we don't want to face emotions that can be kind of painful. Any other kind of shield emotions, or instead of feeling sad or feeling vulnerable, do you notice yourself feeling maybe distant or somehow like disconnected? I don't know.
Maybe distant. Like I think I can relate to that. Another thing is that I just can't like process the emotion. Like I don't really understand this. I also think I tend to like get close to people more, so I'm like a lot more friendly and maybe nicer. I don't know. Like it just made me become a lovable person in general. So yeah.
That's good. We also don't want to like throw the baby out with the bathwater, because the shield emotions and the defense mechanisms and the things that we do to help ourselves survive and feel, not so bad, there's value in that sometimes, the short term, maybe, longer term. But those painful emotions underneath are also there for a reason. They're there to help us. And so moving on to step 2 of radical emotional acceptance, if you had to name the emotions, what's sort of on your list of the different sad, vulnerable emotions that come up when you think about like your situation, missing family, missing your mom?
That definitely. Yeah. Maybe vulnerable because I tend to share a lot and I used to not. I was a really shy person growing up. And so now I become like more like a person that people can relate to in a way. So I tend to share a lot about myself, about my experiences, and yeah.
So when you share those kind of sad, vulnerable emotions, you find that it actually draws people closer to you. So they're actually serving kind of a good purpose in that way. How do you find people will respond?
A lot of people are like, just think of me as a family. Like, I have like host family. I mean, I have you and your family. So people just tend to like treat me a lot better and nicer. And I mean, everyone wants to be treated nicely. So it's kind of good. There are good things to it.
I'm trying to imagine, so sad, vulnerable, other emotions that come to mind, maybe lonely or disconnected. I'm like imagining myself in those situations where I was like feeling just kind of, I don't know, maybe hopeless, or sometimes it can kind of get bad and you could feel that kind of raw hopelessness even, or even a sense of just despair sometimes. I don't know. Can you think of any other associated feelings or emotions that come up for you?
I do feel lonely. I also sometimes feel like I don't belong anywhere because like the part of me that I know is no longer there. So I just I'm trying to find myself every time. So yeah.
And notice, like, I'm imagining people that are watching or listening to this already are having like their empathy kind of awakened, because as I, connect with you hearing this, it makes me really feel like what it might be like to be in your shoes. And it's very relatable. I think we've all been in some way, we've been in situations where we are distant from people that we love and want to be close to. And that's a sense of loss too, I guess. This idea that you are the person that you used to be is no longer there. Can you talk a little bit more about what that's like?
I mean, I was never the kind of person that like cared about. I mean, I love my friends, but I realize I tend to miss people a lot more because I've become like really attached. And that was never me. Like if I had my mom and my sister, I'm good. Like, like I'm fine. But now it's like, I get really attached to people and like I tend to miss them a lot. So that was never me. That like, yeah. And like I used to share my emotions with my mom and now I write about it. Or I just sit in my room and maybe cry about it. So yeah, just that part of me is just not there anymore.
And that's, so relatable to just, I think as we all go through the process of, even just growing up and individuating from our family of origin and sort of realizing that we are like autonomous and that we have like our own lives, there's a lot that goes on. The next step is to be curious about the emotions. Step number 3, to listen to the F or listen to the emotions and try to figure out what good are all these painful emotions? What good is the sadness? What is that doing for you? What good is the loneliness? What good is that sense of maybe despair, or I guess that kind of lack of connection? I don't know if there's also some fear that happens too, but what are all these painful, uncomfortable emotions you think possibly there for, if they're not just there to make you feel bad?
I think it makes me value the people in my life. So, because I know like there will be a time where I won't have them around anymore. And so I just value when I meet a friend or anyone, basically. Another one is, okay, I just thought about this. Okay, so I've been trying to be a better person for myself and for my mom and family, because they're all like proud of me. So it also makes me do better in life, do better in school, and just every aspect of my life, and trying to be a better person in general.
I guess the opposite would be, if you didn't have any of these uncomfortable emotions, then you may not really be so motivated to appreciate people and relationships. And when you grow up and you always have your mom and your sister, it's maybe easy to take it for granted because you just think they're always going to be there like that. And yeah, can learn a lot from that.
It has also helped me improve my communication skills, because the way I grew up in a different place, it's not, you don't really hear your mom tell you, I love you every day. I don't think my mom ever said that, but I know she loves me, because like the things she does, like the way she takes care of me, that just shows that she loves you. But now I tend to tell people I love you. And that wasn't something I grew up with. So it's been interesting. Yeah.
And we've kind of already touched a lot on the 4th step, which is to act on the F, or to decide with our emotional wisdom what to do. So based on these painful emotions, based on the emotional wisdom, what have you been doing, and what do you think you could be doing to make the best decisions and to take the best action for reaching your own desires in life and relationships?
Being better at communicating my feelings with people, valuing the people in my life more, being a better person. Yeah. Being there for people. Like, I love people, I'm very community oriented. So yeah, it's made me realize the value other people have in my life and just try to be a better person for them. Yeah.
As we've been talking about this today, do you feel like you are learning anything or gaining any insight, or are you having thoughts about things that you didn't quite think about? Or is this stuff that you kind of have already been thinking about so far?
I mean, it helped me understand my emotions and maybe why I'm feeling those emotions. Like, I've always felt like maybe I'm just being extra. And so now it's like, it's normal. Like, you're away from your family. Like, you're supposed to feel that way. That definitely. And it also, like, it's helping me realize that I need to journal more, because I stopped journaling. Yeah. And maybe I should start reaching out to my mom often and not just once a week.
That's awesome. The final step is to thank the F, or to find sincere gratitude for the painful emotions, because if you can find gratitude for the emotions that were a problem that you needed to get rid of or fix or whatever, then there's no longer a battle. You're no longer in a war with yourself. You're no longer trying to fix yourself and to not have the emotions, to get rid of the sadness, to get rid of the loneliness, to somehow medicated away or whatever. So for you, are there any reasons that you have sincere thankfulness for the painful emotions at this point?
I mean, I would I would like to see my mom and not like feel those emotions, you know? But at the same time, I think being away from her has made me grow. And so I've found who I am. And although she's not part of the process and I would love to share with her in the future, I just feel like I've found myself. And if I was with her, I probably wouldn't have found myself at 21, you know? So I'm kind of glad that happened. Yeah.
It's really painful to miss somebody, I think, that emotion of like sadness, longing. A part of step 3 is part of the emotional wisdom is to realize what emotional needs that you have that are not being met. Emotional needs, desires, things you want, things that you like that are like not part of your life. What's on your list of any desires or emotional needs that you discovered were not being met, and then maybe you figured out a way to get those met, or you're still kind of searching maybe?
I'm trying to think real hard.
Even basic stuff like just sort of our need for companionship or our need for attention, like basic things that we kind of like from people we care about.
Okay, I'll just go with it. Attention. Yeah. So this is tough. So I have, I'm grown. And so I have a partner or a boyfriend. And so, just like being with him and just seeing how he cares for me, like just seeing how other people would care for you that are not like necessarily your family has been like an eye-opening experience.
Awesome. Well, do you have any other thoughts that you wanted to talk about? Any other examples that are kind of coming up? Or is there anything that we missed that you wanted to go into?
So sometimes I feel like I just feel numb. I just have these feelings that I can't really process. So how do you deal with something that you can't really categorize as happy, sad? You don't really understand the feelings yourself.
Yeah. I think of numbness as maybe another shield emotion, because if you're feeling numb to where something really good happens and you don't feel happy, and something bad happens but you don't give a fuck, you don't give a shit about it, you're just kind of like, it's almost like this shield or this force field around you, and nothing can touch you. So in one way you're protected, but at the same time you're kind of distant from your own emotions. Is that kind of what you mean? Yeah. So that goes, back to step 1 of recognizing that you have some kind of a shield going on. And then to get to step 2, the secret ingredient is really curiosity. So you start to become curious about what uncomfortable or painful emotions am I avoiding by that the numbness is like trying to hide. One of my friends had this really cool analogy I liked a lot, which is if you imagine this numbness as this like giant like ice wall between you and me, and no matter how hard you try, you can't see beyond the ice wall. But if you focus your attention on it, almost like this electric beam of heat, the ice wall will start to melt. And you might notice some things coming out of it that are not very comfortable. But you're no longer trying to hide from them, and you're sort of like welcoming them, and then you can start to tune into it more. So, but in real time, if you can just imagine like the last time you were kind of feeling this numbness, and look with curiosity, what do you feel like might be underneath that numbness for you?
Loneliness, maybe unsatisfied, like just wanting more to like what I have right now. I mean, like in school, not like wanting more. Just, I'm not talking about money. I mean, that would be good. But just like wanting more for yourself. I mean, I know I've accomplished a lot, but it's like hard for you to see it when, you're surrounded by people doing great and like, so yeah.
In other words, like being numb might not hurt as bad as being lonely or being faced with, I don't have what other people have. Like other people have their family here with them. Other people have, they've achieved success or whatever, or they have like, I guess you already have your relationships. So you got that box checked right now. But being numb is less painful than allowing yourself to have those painful emotions. But coming back to the flip side, what are those painful emotions showing you as far as the desires? So, for example, loneliness or dissatisfaction. What is that? What's kind of the opposite of loneliness, or what's the opposite of dissatisfaction? What's the opposite of these like painful emotions that are showing you kind of desires that you have? And what are you desiring?
Okay. It just helps you like realize what you want, and maybe you should work towards it. You know, if you want people in your life, maybe you should be part of a club and try to build a community of people. If you want to be better, maybe you should just work on it and just do it rather than just being sad about it, you know?
Yeah. And that's kind of the motivation of how these painful emotions can become your ambition and motivation to start to work hard, right? And move into step 4, which is acting on the F, or starting to use the power of these emotions to take action towards getting your needs met. And that's where creativity comes in, because you might know what you want and you might not know how to get it, but that's a good problem to have because you at least know what you want. And so now you can start to take steps and to get help you need to get onto the road to getting that met. Do you have any examples that come to mind of things that, big things, small things, relationship things that you want now or later that you might not necessarily know how to just manifest right away?
So one thing I definitely need is like a engineering internship. I do know the process to like working towards it, but I'm also someone who is like afraid of rejection. And so a lot of times I tend to not like do it because I'm like scared of like being rejected.
Yeah. And you know, fear is another emotion that's very powerful. What good is fear? The fear of being rejected. Why is that actually a good thing? How is that fear in particular helping you with this example of wanting to get like an internship?
I honestly have no idea. I just think it's protecting me from that rejection in general. I don't think it's beneficial in the long term.
Yeah. So I like to think of fear as just simply making us aware of a potential threat. And if you go for it and you fail, you're going to feel a lot of sad, painful emotions. However, if you don't go for it, then you're guaranteed to not get what you want. And so you're going to sort of end up in the same boat. So fear is making you aware, and then you get to decide, is it worth it? Is it worth the risk? What are you risking by trying for it, you think?
Nothing. Nothing. If I don't get it, I would still just be in the same position. But if I do get it, that's like when I'm going to be better. So, yeah.
So anybody out there with engineering internship, please contact us for Tawa. She's amazing. Any other final thoughts? Any questions? Anything else that you were thinking about?
This has been amazing. And I hope my mom listens to it. And I love you, just so you know.
We're going to be big in Nigeria soon, so everybody's going to watch this, I hope. Anyway, thanks so much, Tawa. Do you have a way that people, if they wanted to reach out, should they just contact us and we could forward it to you? Okay. All right. You don't want more followers on Twitter right now?
I'm like a social person. And maybe on Instagram. And it's just Tawa Giwa. That's all. I'm very basic.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Hey guys, thanks for watching. This is Dr. Alex Wills with Give a F Actually. Make sure to check us out on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you get your podcasts.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out the merch store. RadicalEmotionalAcceptance.com. Bye.
Bye.
In the bathtub, someone must have picked your lock. We have to speak